Hi, how you doing? I have to come in for Earth Day. I nearly forgot. Oh, I'm just wondering who's in. Who's actually in and online or whatever. Some people might be out enjoying the Earth, the great outdoors. I don't know. We'll find out. Or there might be other things going on. There might be a lot going on today that I don't know about because YouTube doesn't tell me much about anything. They don't alert me to very much. It's like even the stuff I'm subscribed to, it's like, no, not so much. A few things. There's a few things they will always tell me about. But most stuff, they just, the stuff that I would like to really know when it's going on, I don't hear about that for a while, until it's like, if at all. So, hey, Les, how you doing? Hey, Richard. I think Duke was dropping something today too. Was dropping a video, so I don't know. I don't know exactly when that was. Happy Earth Day to us. Happy Earth Day to us. Happy Earth Day to Gaia. So, there's been some interesting stuff going on. I think I figured out why I was feeling crappy besides just the weather. I really think it might be because there's probably a lot going on. I mean, I hear that there was this big solar wave that came through. A lot of us get flattened a lot of us are sensitive to things like not just earthly terrestrial type weather, but sunspots and solar waves and stuff like that. A lot of us feel that. Um, and it can, well, if you're sensitive, it can knock your butt out. You know what I'm saying? So, um, and sometimes it's just so freaking hard to be sensitive person because it's just, I am grateful for it. And also it can be freaking nuts sometimes. So, it can be very hard to deal with the ups and downs of it. And some of us deal with it better than others. At least I'm still around. But today I had to come on streaming because it's Earth Day. And I want to honor Mother Earth because she's been good to me. I mean, giving me all this nice food to sustain my body and my little Abby while I'm here and giving me a place to live and, breathe air and all that and the love. She's been good. So I have to honor her birthday, which is not her birthday, but I have to honor Earth Day, but it's not really a birthday, but we could treat it like a birthday. Sing happy birthday to you, happy Earth Day to you. Hey, Jim and I hope you're feeling better too. One of the things that I noticed is, yes, Earth Day. One of the things I noticed is a lot of people feeling very similar. I mean, um, especially if you're sensitive and female, because Paul's wife, too, my friend Paul, his wife, she's very sensitive to the weather. all the same stuff. A lot of us are, you know, and it seems as I get older, I'm more sensitive. I'm, it bothers me even more than when I was younger. So I don't know exactly how that works. But yeah, it's been quite a rough ride. But then I have found males that have been, men who have been saying they had kind of a rough ride too with all this going on. So it's not just us ladies. So, yeah, it can be kind of a ride. And, oh, I'm glad. Yeah. I think part of it too is I do it fairly regularly now, ever since COVID and ever since our suspicions that it's actually, that in this game, Covey is the name of a verb. In the game we are playing, Covey is a worm's name. And there's been so much that has been, that I've said on this show, and other people have come up with the same thing, almost the same. Not exactly the same in all cases, but there's been two that have been very notable. And I'm going to talk to that. Yeah, huge spikes in the energy and a vortex opened up, giving us more access to light codes, which is great and can really knock your ass out if you're psychic and empathic and all that. But I was doing a parasite cleanse and had forgotten. I'd upped the strength of it. I had gotten, instead of just wormwood, I had wormwood and black walnut hulls and something else was mixed in, some kind of a blend I had started. And I really wonder if, because it is so easy to get, now the doctors would tell me when I would bring this up, oh no, it's very hard to get, worms or a parasite or anything that's hard to get. Something really strange would have to happen. But the old veterinarian that we had the opposite opinion, because he lived in a time when worms were very common, very common. At one point when things were more rural, it was extremely common for kids especially to have worms, and very communicable. Tapeworms were very communicable. Pinworms were very communicable. And so, according to him, it's a piece of cake to get parasites. It can happen in so many ways. If you're around animals, ever. If you're around people who are around animals. If your dog ever licked your face. If your dog ever licked your hand and you put your hand to your face. If any animal ever, I mean, we get them mostly from animals, but honestly, and sometimes from each other. And they'd go through a family sometimes because people would be close to each other in various ways. And it really is not that hard. So I urge you that if you're having any kind of symptoms, to please consider getting yourself a parasite cleanse. But I think really that was part of what was going on with me too, is when you do these, you get an effect. And if things are really dying off, you'll get a die-off effect. And sometimes that's unpleasant for a while. But then after that's gone, after that's over, that period is over, then you'll feel really good. You'll feel a whole lot better. And I think that might have been part of the problem, is I was going through that. So it's always good to do a cleanse now and then, because these little buggers can creep in to your life and cause lots of problems in lots of areas of your life. So basically, after what I'm about to tell you, there's more. Oh, don't answer yet. Look what else you get. Look what else you can get. Let me, since we have a few people in here, I'm gonna do the intro just because I have one and I can. I like my intro. I got to make another intro. When I get to the point that I can stand, I got to show you a couple things. We're going to test a few things too. When I get to where I can stand and have the Wi-Fi on, I'll be making some more elaborate videos again that I will have to edit and so on, because I haven't been editing these at all. And I know that's not really good. You really need to be, but the quality needs to come up in the next year. I hope to do that. So I'm going to do I'm going to do the intro for a minute here. Let me make sure it's ready to go. And yeah, you would do that, wouldn't you? So one of these days I'll be able to walk and chew gum. You'll see. Quit that. I will. I'll be able to walk and chew gum, folks. No, it's not cooperating. It's not going to cooperate. How do you like that? It doesn't want to cooperate. I've been having some trouble with the tech, I'll be honest. It's not wanted to be cooperative. It's been wanting to do stupid stuff and make me wait and wait and wait for things, and let me see if I can fix it in the meantime. Oh, yeah. Well, if everything went perfect, it wouldn't be this show, would it? If everything went perfect, would it be my show? I'll tell you right now. What? I might be missing something. I don't know. I'll have to check closer. Wow. YouTube might be doing some strange things again. Let's hate the dandelions. Please don't eat the daisies, but eat all the dandelions you want. Paul told me that stuff that was growing in clumps that, I put a picture in MeWe. He told me that's probably bitter cress. It tastes kind of like radishes. And I guess, according to my helper, they pick it in Poland all the time and eat it, So very popular, one of the first wild edibles to come up. Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? I know a person who studied nutrition, and somehow she can't wrap her head around she can't wrap her head around that plants grow outside and come from the ground in reality, and that you're not going to die if you eat them coming right from the ground. That, if you go out and pick some wild plants, the right ones, and bring them in and wash them, sometimes even if you don't bother to wash them, because, some people don't even bother. Because why? Because, you're afraid of dog peed on them. What do you think happens with migrant laborers? Right? But yeah, trying to convince her that I wasn't going to die because I was eating all of this wildcrafted stuff. That I love the wild stuff that comes up in the spring. I really look forward to it. And she's like, some of that could kill you. And I'm like, and most of it won't. I mean, if you know what you're doing, it won't. So I don't know what the heck world you're living in, but where the world that I'm playing, the game that I'm playing, this version of Earth that I'm playing, food grows on the earth or in the earth. It's on the ground mostly, not all of it, but I mean, some of the meat's in the air and in the sea, and some other stuff is in it. But really, plants grow pretty much in the ground of some sort, unless it's plankton or something. But it's so weird that somebody supposedly studies nutrition and can't wrap their heads around this. That no, food does not come from grocery stores. Did you know that food does not come from grocery stores? Isn't that weird? Yeah. That's what we're dealing with. That kind of mentality. It's fun. So I know what you're talking about, Les. I there are probably people here that if I brought a lovely batch of greens into a potluck and I told them that they came right out of the backwoods, they probably would not eat them for fear that I was trying to poison them. To me, that's cuckoo. People, wake up. Where do you think you live? It's so weird. Anyway, I'm going to do the intro now that I've got it. Hopefully I've got it set up. Hopefully it works. Not everything's my fault, but some of it is. There is always operator error. It certainly is. It's ocean. And here I am again. I'm beside myself. And people ask me, do I miss the hair? Well, it's one of those things. You um, have to think again sometimes. You have to change. You have to roll with the changes. And, you know, anyway, hello. Albie is in. Well, hello, Albie. We haven't seen you in a minute. Hello, Mary. Mary Lena. And did anybody else come in while I was screwing around there? Nobody. Okay, so here's the thing. Did my parasite cleanse think that was part of what was happening? If you're an empath, here's a question. Will you feel those little critters dying off? Because there was a couple of days there I felt like I was dying. Could it be that I was feeling the little critters dying? Like I said, it's so easy to get them. And some parasites can actually affect your mind. I really don't want to show it in here, but you can find out what a threadworm can do to a grasshopper. It can take over its mind. There's also one that takes over ants. There's also one that can take over rats sometimes and control them to do things even that kill them. So you got to really watch parasites. They can influence you, even if they're just in your stomach. They can influence you. And I very strongly suspect that our bacteria, if you're sensitive, your bacteria might influence you too. Because kefir means literally, and which is fermented milk, literally means good feeling. And it does make you feel good. You get a good feeling when you drink. It's funny, you actually feel just pleasant. There's a pleasant sensation that goes along with it. And I think it's more than just the fact that it's nutritious. I think it's all those little, to me, I was getting this image in my eye or in my third eye, this feeling that these little bacteria were just happy to do their job. They're like, oh boy, we're going into a body. We're going to go down there and do our job. This is what we were made to do. This is what we were born to do. Yay, and they're all like, yay. Down in the stomach, it's like, look, there's some bad bacteria. Let's get them, boys. Time to rumble. Now that sounds really kind of crazy, I realize, but well, then again, you kind of expect some kind of weird stuff from me, I guess, by now. But that's the image I got. It was just kind of like that. It was not, it was just like, we're getting to do our job. We're going to a stomach, and we're gonna fight bad guys. That's great. But there's another weird thing too about the insects is that there's these insects that I've been trying to get rid of. They're just little moths. But boy, they're destructive at every one of their stages. And steaming everything, is how I get rid of things, because it's the only way to kill just about everything. And it's funny how they somehow always want to die in your drink. If there's even just one, if I'm not careful, that little sucker's going to end up in my drink. And I almost drink it. And I'll look down in that, it's like it's gotten me paranoid to where I will use cups that have a lid. I want a cup with a lid and I want it to be clear so I can see if one of those little fuckers are in there, and I'll be like, I don't want to drink them. And they're just a little tiny moth thing. And you really wonder about them too, because when you kill a moth, they're just dust. It's like, how does that even alive? I don't know. So, oh yeah, that's a nice picture, Mary. So, anyway, on with the show. On with the show. What came up? What came up? Well, it's cold here again. And dealing with that. Passed my inspection very well. It went very well. And my place is nicer than ever. But I still have a back room full of stuff to go through. Oh, my God. Moving. There's stuff that you stash in the corners and boxes and put away, and because I couldn't do anything with them at the other place, it was just too small. I couldn't even look through things properly. And so I have things I haven't seen in 20 years showing up. Rocks and stuff that I got before I even moved, So I'm like way back, so some of them might be 30 years old. It's weird, man. It's really weird. So looking back on that, looking back on how things have changed and what things are like now, really, how the world is different. Wow, is it different? I almost would swear that we're not on the same version of Earth. Oh, wait, we're not. We're on 2.0.1. 2.01, yeah. No, we're on 2.21. That's right. 2.21 version. That's right. Geez, somebody pointed that out to me. Oh, yeah. It's the best place I've been in my whole life. I sit here and realize, and as I sit at my beautiful table, it's a secondhand table, but it's a beautiful table. It's some kind of burl wood. I don't know if you know anything about wood grain, but burl wood is expensive, and it's just a veneer, but it's beautiful. And so there's some other kind of wood under there, but the burl wood is beautiful. They put veneer a lot of times because some of this wood is extremely expensive. And if it was solid, it would cost a whole lot more. But I'll have to take a close-up of it and see if anybody can identify it, because it's beautiful. I think it's some kind of burl. It might be walnut. It's not anything typical. It's something kind of a little exotic. So, be interested to see, and almost definitely some kind of burl wood, which if you don't know what a burl is, it's from an older tree. Little seedlings start growing into the wood and make little knots and swirls and everything in it. And so it's kind of unusual. It's very common among the giant redwoods. The only reason I know this is because I knew a guy in Oregon on the border. We stopped in a place that was all burl wood, and it was the stuff he was making with it was just gorgeous. But hey, Leo. So remember, then this goes to what I just was talking about, which is why I was talking about why I am taking worm stuff, parasite, anti-parasite stuff. I've said it before. What we're really dealing with is Covey is a little worm's name. And now we might have seen the face of Covey. It comes from originally, I think, Max Egan's channel. And then somebody else posted it too from Max's channel. And it is a close-up, like a microscopic video of a threadworm in a mask. And they say it is the fibers of the mask. And the masks that they're shipping out, and they've also found them in the swabs. These tiny microscopic worms. They're black and they're very long. And they look a lot like the same kind of thread worms that infest, is it grasshoppers? Yeah, I believe it's grasshoppers. And grasshoppers, these grasshoppers, when they're infested with these threadworms, they'll do things even to their detriment, because the threadworm will take their mind over and make them go to water, make them head for water. And this is the weird thing. Once the way they get back out again is, through the poop chute. And then you look at this thing coming out, it's like, wow, it's like, you thought the anal probes were bad, right? This poor grasshopper's been used, misused, and abused, and didn't even get a kiss first. But if it doesn't drown, it can just go on and have a life, a normal grasshopper life, and not be that much worse for wear. But then again, they don't live very long, do they? And we can't really ask them, how their lives have changed since this kind of abuse, but use and abuse. But here we go with threadworms, and aside from sitting there and going, "Wah!" If those would be in a mask, now people are saying instead of an actual worm, it's nanoparticles that organize itself into something that looks like a threadworm, which I keep remembering when somebody was trying to RV this thing and ask it, find out more about it and try and talk to it, what's your purpose? And it didn't know. But it looked like a worm, and they said it looked like an artificial worm, though. That might be exactly what it is. That would almost exactly fit the bill. Weird. Is it a actual threadworm, or is it some kind of artificial threadworm? Some attempt at mind control? In this game, this game is very unpredictable right now. And yet, I predicted some of this tonight. Another thing I predicted. Hey, we're going to have a war. Why? Because then in the name of national security, they don't have to disclose. They'll say it's national security. Yeah, and Russia's looking like they're fixing to have a fight with somebody. And they're not liking us too well right now. We're not getting along with them that great, which is bad. Hi, David. Hi, Lewis. Hi, Ken. Hey, how you doing? When I get on a roll, I don't see you right away, but I will see you eventually. So I'm looking at this and I'm going, whoa. I told you there's going to be a distraction. That may be it. I'm not liking this one bit. I'm not attached to it, but I'm not liking it. And we can change some of these things. you realize because you're divine, so am I. We're divine. Don't forget. We can mitigate a lot of this, but I think that's the plan. I don't think anything they're going to do is going to work perfectly anymore. It's not going to work anymore the way that they think. Not now that we're getting wise to all of this crap, that they do. Oh, Donnie. Who's Donnie? Hi. Greetings and favor to you too, David, and happy Earth Day. Kanga meat. Mm. Oh, Rocky. Rocky. Okay. I don't know either one of them. Do I? Or do I? Maybe I do. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, different kinds of things. If you really want to see what a threadworm does to a grasshopper, there is I think it might be on True Facts. I'm not sure. True Facts might have it. But yeah, it's disgusting. Really, what I told you was the most of it, and really, if you want to ever eat again, don't watch it while you're eating, unless you've got a very strong stomach. Oh yeah, isn't that great? And they make the phones smaller, and now they're harder to type on. Right? Kangaroo meat. Mm. Yeah, I've never tasted it. I'd like to taste it one day. Oh, a caddy at a barnyard store was attached. There's your best to get the kitty unattached because sometimes they get the little claws in you and they just don't want to get them out again. They just don't want to go. No, I don't. I don't want to go. So anyway, yeah, that's another thing I said. They're going to try some distractions. And one of them might be Russia. And another one, I don't know. Oh, and they're trying to stir up. Now that the trial's over, that trial with involving that policeman, and now that that's over and he's been convicted, and they're still not happy, and they're still there's still people who are planning on rioting and burning stuff and think that millions of black people have died at the hands of policemen. They were interviewing people on a show I was watching. They were interviewing them, and people were millions of black people. No, you know how many died from police altercations with police? Last year, exactly 18, which is sad, but it's certainly not millions, even hundreds or even dozens, not even, So they're trying to incite some kind of race wars again. I said that was going to happen too, that they were going to try and have another round of racial unrest, bogusness. Yeah, you know what? It's like I was talking to Jim, my dear sweet Jim, and we were talking about this a little bit, and it's like, why is he in right now? Why is Blue Guy in? If we're on the positive timeline, let people find out what they voted for. Okay, you got this guy. Now let's see, what is he going to do? Well, what's happening? Well, we got a war brewing, possibly. Well, I think the thing is unarmed. Unarmed deaths of Black people at the hands of policemen. And they were saying there's really only been 18. As far as 600, they may have been armed. I don't know. We'll have to double check, but it's certainly not millions. Even at that, it's not millions. But even erring on either side, we don't know what the other circumstances were. I mean, were they threatening? I mean, the latest incident, somebody pulled a knife on somebody else and they got shot by a policeman. But they were pulling a knife on somebody. They were going to kill somebody. They were going to cut somebody up. Is it because they were Black? Or is it because they pulled a knife on somebody? Oh, private citizens. Yeah. See, I remember back in my time, stuff happened. Stuff happened to white folks too, you know? Oh, yeah. It was their police. I saw it on the streets of Kent myself. I've seen it. It was mostly happening to white folks. Do we have rallies and burn things down because of that? Maybe the college kids should say it's because I'm a college kid that you're doing this. College kid lives matter. I don't know. It's weird. To me, this is weird. Oh, okay. That's what it was. Yeah, always double check me because sometimes I can kind of forget small details. I always say my brain is like a steel sieve. It's not like a steel trap. It's more like a steel sieve. The main things stay and the smaller things can get through sometimes, can get past me. But yeah, I mean, some of these are justifiable. You can't blame somebody. You cannot blame somebody who's charged with protecting citizens. Yeah, you know, to try and protect a citizen. It's really weird. So, you know, just saying. Okay, so Ken found it, and it's 9 Black people shot unarmed and 19 white people. We should have a rally and start burning things. Doggone it. No, that's not going to happen. Oh boy. I understand why, Linda. I understand why. You want to know how you get this stuff to happen? I understand why. Why is because it's disruptive. Why is because they don't want us all on the same page getting along. There are people who do not want us all on the same page getting along. Because if we do, we'd get things accomplished. And some people would be out on their asses. They'd be out in the cold, wouldn't they? If we ever got things right, There are people who would not only just be out on their butts, there are people who would be probably. So actually, race riots that are caused artificially go way back, and maybe way back in history as well. It may go way back. And I know it was true in Martin Luther's time. Remember, I'm old enough to remember those days. And people said the same thing. They said when the White House, the attack, when that happened, the eyewitnesses said that people were bussed in. They got right out. They weren't protesting with the others. The people who did that were not protesting with the others. They came right in on a bus, got right off of the bus, went right over there and did their damnedest, did their dirty work. Like they were paid to do it. You know why? Probably they were in some way. Well, here's what you can do. You can watch a movie called Wag the Dog, and then it'll all start to get kind of clear. Yeah. Well, the thing is, we can get along, and we were getting along, but that doesn't suit the ends. That doesn't suit the ends. We have to have unrest. We have to be separated. You got to keep them separated. Because if they keep us separated, we are easy to push over. When we are together, we're strong. When we are separated, we are weaker. Doesn't mean we're powerless, but we are weaker when we're separated. The thing is, the whole racism thing nearly died out. I mean, it was to the point where around here, we got rainbow children all over the place. You know, we've got rainbow couples all over the place. We got, I see a lot of it. It's a college town. Gosh, plenty of it. It's nothing. It is absolutely nothing anymore. My helper is a Polish white lady married to an African, a flat out African, from Nigeria, African American. So, this is nothing. So why is it all of a sudden something? Well, wait a minute. Here's what you could do. I tell you what, if you wanted something like this to happen, I could tell you how you could do it real easy. Prisons, a lot of them are privately owned. And if you were friends with a warden and they had some kind of violent troublemaker types that they wouldn't mind, would leave, this facility, but they're probably not getting out soon because they're in there for something particularly nasty. And you go to the warden and you say, hey, you know what? You got any people with this particular profile, violent and, et cetera, et cetera? You give them a little list. Sure, we got some offenders like that in here. And then you go in there and you say, okay, fellas, here's the deal. We're going to let you out early. We're going to let you out in a town. We're going to make sure that the police don't touch you. You can go out and do anything you want. Have fun. It's only one thing. Can't tell them that we let you out, that we gave you this deal. Sign here. That's how you get people like that. That would be so easy. You go to a guy that's in there for maybe life because he's a violent mofo, right? Or some crazy ass, somebody, it is going to take you up on that and say, sure, to get out early. Yeah, and you're not going to get in any trouble. There are never going to be any charges pressed against you. Do what you want. As a matter of fact, raise as much hell as you want. Just have fun. Steal as much. You can torch places. You can kill people. It doesn't matter. You're never going to come to trial. Just have fun. And there would be people who would sure be like, oh, hell yeah. And there you got your troublemakers for free, right? You don't even have to really pay them. It would be so easy. It would be so easy. I'm glad that none of our politicians would ever think of doing anything like that. No, nobody would ever, of course, ever really do that. That's more like a plot from a Batman movie or something, right? From a superhero movie. And then nobody would really release some kind of artificial parasite. That's a science fiction, and nobody would ever do that, really, would they? In order to control a population, that's like the Joker or something. Why is this looking more and more like some kind of a movie? Did you ever ask? And why do these things keep coming up when they're nearly dead? Because it's handy for somebody to have them keep coming up. That's why. It's the only reason it ever is. Yeah, you know what? I agree, Aaron. The two-party system, it's supposed to be more. We're supposed to even have a third party, but do we really? No. It's not a real third party. No. We all know they're not going to win. I'm going to turn my grow light down a little bit and just be human right now. Honestly, we've got people who can't stand the thought of things changing. We are metamorphosizing into a different being in an organic way. And there are people who would like to see it happen in an artificial way. Because if we do it organically, we're going to be out of the grip of jerks, basically. We'll be too hot to handle. You won't be able to control us. Whereas if we do it artificially, then we will owe our souls to the company store, basically. Like the old song. St. Peter, don't you call me. I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Might be more relevant than ever someday if they start shoving consciousness, trying to shove consciousness in a artificial body. So now, see, I always vote off of ideas, and I'm independent. So, nobody has me for certain. You got to convince me why. Why do I want to vote for you? Yeah, and it's got to be a good reason. Or I just, yeah, I'm not going into it. I don't want to get too into that. Hundred meters away from socialists. Even when the restrictions are dropped, would y'all just stay way back there? Oh, farther. Farther. I tell you what. Stand right over there by the Grand Canyon. I want to get a picture. I want to get a group picture, y'all. Step back a little farther, little farther. Whoops. No, that's bad. It's very bad. It's I can get behind that shirt. Could probably get into that shirt if they have extra large. Anyway, you know what? See, this is my feeling. Where we went wrong at the millennium. All those people that were in bunkers, we let them out. Should have just left them there. Then everything would be great. Should have just locked them in and said, okay, here, this is what it'd be like if there really was a war. Now you stay down there. You stay down there a while. It's a test. It's just a test. We're just testing. See how it works. Does it work? Does your system work? Are you all going nuts and eating each other yet down there? Okay, well, I mean, seriously, that was our big mistake. We let them back out again. Voting is a privilege in the USA and in Australia, it's mandatory. If you don't vote, you go to jail. So they implicate you. So no matter what, you're going to be implicated. It's your fault. Wow. Oh my God, Ken, that's disgusting. That is disgusting. Some 80-year-old guy gets jailed for not voting because he lives 1,000 kilometers from the nearest poll center. And somehow, jeez, that's awful. Well, here's another thing. As we are talking about people who don't want us to thrive, and who might that be? Here on Earth Day, I do want to say that every interaction I've had with Mother Earth, and I have spoken with her frequently, I do. We've had many talks, and she is a personality. She has a personality. She will talk to you. She's really accessible. And if you are open to it and you are a person who can do that kind of thing, you can talk with Mother Earth very easily. And she's really fine with communicating. She doesn't have a problem with that. And it's very obvious to me that she loves all her children the same, and us no less. As a matter of fact, she thinks we're kind of special. And there may be a reason why we're kind of special. You know, we might be a special. Sometimes I think we are just kind of special. But, oh my gosh, you got threatened with jail or pay 1,000 fine. And you're still paying it off. Oh my gosh. You wild guy. Oh my gosh. Wow. And all for bullshit, mostly for bullshit. There was, I just saw a video about a guy who was asked to put, I mean, he does videos about medical stuff. He was asked to put a mask under the microscope and take a look at it and see what he could find. And you know what was really going on with the masks, and what he found was most of these supposedly cotton masks, they're not even cotton. They're artificial fiber because they melt. They're plastic. They're never going to biodegrade. So it's funny that you can go, not funny in a good way, you can go to California, and some places in California, it's illegal to have plastic straws. It's illegal to have plastic bags, but plastic masks are littered all over the place because the masks are plastic, most of them. Oh my goodness, really? Well, you're lucky you got off that easy. I know people who are doing time for that kind of thing. Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say, Lewis. Um, he just cut a piece of it and looked at it, and he didn't find anything like that, but he did find that it's artificial, very loosely woven, um, very wondering how it could freaking block anything. Um, you know, it's kind of crazy. But on Max Egan's channel, yeah, I was just saying that a little earlier. People are saying that some of these contain something that looks like it's Morgellons, related to Morgellons. Well, if you want to disrupt this kind of technology, what I've been saying, boron, I don't know if you were here when I said you need to supplement your diet with boron. A little bit, just tiny bit. You only need an eighth of a teaspoon per 100 pounds. Max came in, Max Vision. John is his real name. Max is actually the kitty cat whose tail we see quite frequently in the shots. But John did that research, and but I knew about before that, way before that, people had been saying that boron will burn the legs off of nanobots because they have these tiny little legs that get them stuck in your system wherever they get stuck. And if you dissolve those off, then they just flush right out of you. So my naturopathic friends were recommending a little boron in your water. You can't even taste it. It doesn't even taste like anything. If you got pure water, you put I just put a little bit in every now and then. Every bottle of water that I purify, I just have a little jar that I have boron in borax. And borax, like 20 multein borax, is actually pretty pure, and it's not detergent. It's a detergent additive, remember. So you're not really having detergent, you're having an additive. And usually what additives do, the reason they work well, is they make the water slipperier. Well, you can actually read, if you want to Google it, you can read how many benefits you can get off of from boron. It's a wonderful thing. There are all kinds of health benefits from it, and we don't get enough of it because our soil has been depleted. So, but it also seems like it is at least a partial defense against some of the technology that we're being hit with. And we're always on the lookout for that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Politicians getting off life for child molesting. Sure seems that way. 2 years jail time. That's it. Wow. Yeah. Borax is a very useful. Yeah. Boron and borax. It's the same thing. Boron, borax. Yeah. Yep. I put a little bit in my water. It's just a tiny bit is all you need. You don't need boatloads. You shouldn't have boatloads. It's not boatloads wouldn't be good. They're trace minerals for a reason. You just need a trace of them. So I just put tiny, tiny bit. I don't even measure. I just put a little bit in the water, each jug that I fill. And yep, borax, just plain 20 mil team borax. I did met when Max Vision was here. We did a show about that, and he got some more facts up for us. But anyway, and then he got mad at me for not telling him some of the other benefits, like especially for you men. Yeah, it can do. It can be very restorative. So, there are lots of benefits to boron, and you can read about them on your own time. But yep, some of you guys might want to look into it. Well, see, that's just the thing. Why are the files closed on some things? Well, because some people are special. Yeah, it's enough to make you want to like strangle somebody. What do you think would happen if people found out that that was just stuff like that was just across the board all the time? I mean, do you really think people would just be, I mean, some of us would still manage to maintain our decorum and not kill people, but there would be other people that would be very upset and would be looking to kill. Anyway, speaking of Max, as she segues into the next thing she's going to talk about, oh no, don't drink a whole cup of borax. You don't need that much. No, it's a trace element for a reason. You only need a trace, and that's all you should be having is a trace. Yeah. Morally, it sucks. Since when did that matter? Really? For some of these people, a total lack of morality is called qualifications. For some of these posts, I think. Anyway, segueing into the next thing. Do you remember the remote view? And who could forget, whoever was there, when we were remote viewing the pyramids and how they were being built? Remember seeing the craft in the sky, all of the hovering platforms in the sky of various shapes and all that? Well, there's a abductee, now I guess contactee, who came up with that pretty much the same scenario. And I mean, that's the way he described it too, is that that's what he was shown by by the ETs that were in contact with him, is he was shown exactly the scenario we saw, except we were seeing, well, there were reptilians involved. And so they were involved, but we were seeing redheads. He said they were blonde, but I don't know. There might be some kind of miscommunication there, but basically what it looks like is we're in the middle of, are we in the middle of some kind of sibling rivalry? I would say. If you know the story of Enki and Enlil, Enki supposedly was the creator of these bodies, these human bodies, and Enlil was a brother who wasn't, who didn't like it. Okay, now what I remember from, I have a weird memory of where we're discussing GMOing people with, and I have to go back to this because my memory is I remember having a discussion and being one of those people that was saying, look, we can't do this. This is going to be, it's going to come back and bite us in the butt if we do this. We run the risk of people being incarnated into these bodies. People will end up in these bodies that are stunted, that you've stunted artificially to be workers. And, you know, how's that going to look in a, you know, a few thousand years? Well, his story that he got, and I saw something very similar to this. It looked like what they did was they took a form of life that was already here developing. One of the early hominids, one of our early ancestors, and they took their own genetics and combined it with one of our ancestors' species and came up with us. Just smart enough, just talented enough, just capable enough to run the machines that they needed us to run, but not as long-lived, not as psychic. Some of our genome switched off so that we could not get more powerful than they were, because that was one of the thoughts was, remember that, you know, if they eat of the tree, it may have its echoes, and if they eat of the tree of life, then they could live forever and be like gods. Maybe that is some way of saying that they were afraid that we would be like them and we would end up equal to them, or maybe even beyond them. But it's so long ago that, of course, everything's all garbled up and we can't be sure of anything. But here this guy is telling a very similar story to the one that I remember. That means I was one of our ancestors on the other side of this. That means I was one of our non-human ancestors, non-Earth hominid ancestors, which would kind of tend to make sense since I've been a space case all my life anyway. So, of course, I believe that there is a higher power. I mean, we're GMOing people now. We're working on that right now. But there are higher powers. Oh, yes. I believe in that. There is a God above these so-called gods. That's a whole different ball of wax there. The gods were people. Most likely, the gods were our ancestors, according to what this fellow is being told, and according to what I remember. The gods, so-called gods, with the amazing abilities and stuff that we don't have, only because they were intentionally stunted. But every generation, if we live long enough, they start to come awake again. We get throwbacks. We get people who the genome tries to repair itself. Why? Because we're divine. The genome will constantly try to repair itself. It even does that in other beings too, in other creatures. The genome will attempt to repair itself if it's put in healthy conditions, because that's what nature does. It adapts and repairs itself and replicates itself. That's what it does. So, if that's true, and I'm not saying it is, but it's something to ponder. It's something to ponder. So, if what this guy was told was true, and what my memories was real memory, then the reason we're having all this trouble, according to him, and this is exactly what I remember too. If we're going by the Enlil and Enki story, they had kind of a sibling rivalry going on. And not everybody was happy with this life form being created, GMO'd. As a matter of fact, I was one of them that was not happy that this was going to be done. It was like saying today, we would say, well, we're going to take this human child and we're going to combine its DNA with, I don't know, some other hominid. Let's say we're going to combine it with its DNA with we're going to combine our DNA with a bonobo chimp, so that we can have workers, and we're going to tweak it so that it just has what it needs to help us with our work, so that we don't have to work so hard. And then how would people feel? So, right, Lewis, that's what I think. The tree of life. Yeah, they said they would die if they disobeyed his commandment. Well, and wisdom comes sorrow, yeah. With much knowledge there's grief, and with wisdom comes sorrow, yeah. Well, I don't necessarily believe Enki is Yahweh. As a matter of fact, Yahweh is not even the good guy in the Bible. Yahweh seems to be the one that persecutes people. I think he's actually Enlil. And I think, and I've got lots of reasons for this. I've looked into it and looked into it. I'm not the only one who feels this way. Yahweh was not the good guy in this story. It looks, though, like Enki's family tried to help us, and Enlil's clan wanted us destroyed. They wanted to basically, before they left, they wanted to sterilize the Petri dish, because to them, we were just an experiment. And I know people who today would do that. They would do exactly that. That's exactly what they would do. They would think, yes, well, we're done with it now. It was an experiment. Get rid of it. Yeah. Well, who is who from the Bible, I think, has gotten very, very, very mixed around, Lewis. And that is a subject for another show. There are maybe lots of other shows. It's a big subject. I've done copious amounts of study on that from way back. And the jury is still out about a lot of stuff, about a lot of things. But we know that what we are shown in the Bible is an incomplete story. It does not really reflect the whole story. And there's reasons for that. Lots happened in the intervening years since these stories were written in the first place. So, including how the thing was compiled and everything. So, and it's it's a long story, long story. But if there is any of it, and we know that some of this was Sumerian, I'll go back to the Sumerian. Why? Because the Sumerian has not been republished. The Sumerian version, you know, has not had like 5,000 different translations going out to people who have preached about it and formed opinions, and not that many people know about that. So I kind of tend to look at those stories a little more. But yeah, there is some parts of the Bible that definitely sound like they're talking about that story. And yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses, Yahweh is not the good guy. He's not. He's the one that was telling them to, go slaughter every man, woman, child, and even the cattle. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, Chris Geo. A lot of the things he comes up with, some of it, I'm going to go into the planets because it's obvious that the Geos do not have a full understanding of the planets and what they mean, from what I can hear. They don't really fully understand. They think they do, but they don't. So, they don't really understand the Saturn-Jupiter thing, that's for sure. Because Saturn in itself is not evil. It's not. However, there are creatures in the rings of Saturn, the ring makers. Yeah, those guys, the elves, I am told. The elves. That's a whole different story. Saturn, the planet itself, was probably at one time our sun. Purple dawn theory is what you'd Google. Yes, Epic of Gilgamesh is very interesting. Yeah, Chris is not going to end his life. However, I think that it looks like they might have found a playmate. If he is called away, if that is right, and he is getting called away, it looks like they might have found a playmate for Mrs. Geo. That's what it looks like to me. Well, here, it's not exactly a replacement, but at least she won't be alone and she'll have a replacement. Close enough for until she leaves as well. And that could be it. That could be what's going on with them right now, since a third party has showed up. That's what it looks like. Sorry if that's not jiving with you, but that's what it looks like. Anyway, to go on, because of course Cherie is oriented by. She keeps saying, because of my orientation. Well, a woman has showed up that apparently wants to date both of them. So there you go. Hey, I'm not judging. Yeah, and Cherie will have the cats and the third party that just came into the picture, possibly. So, I don't know if you caught that, Rot. There's a third party that's been hitting on the Geos, a woman, the woman that did Cherie's tattoo, has been hitting on them. They think that may be a relationship possibility. So they may go from a couple to a trio. You never know. I've seen it happen here in Kent. So anyway, that's their business, though, not mine. Now, the funny thing about all of this is that if you think about it, this guy was saying what he was told was there is a group that wants to protect us. If it wasn't for them, we probably would have been gone a long time ago. We would have been able, I mean, because really they're very far capable of getting rid of us. We are no match for them technologically. We're way below them. But the other group, the group that considers us family, because we are. They're the ones that did the gene combining. Come on. And they're saying, no, we can't do that. They're family. They're family. They want us to survive because we've actually shown quite a lot of promise. And if we were not constantly being messed with by the people who want to destroy us, we would probably be way farther down the line as far as development. But we keep running into these beings that want to, the other side of the family, that wants to destroy us, that thinks we need, the petri dish needs to be sterilized, that we are an abomination that never should have been. Well, and this is another thing. If that's true, and I'm not saying it is, but if it is, think on this. If that comes out, and it is true, how are people going to take to finding out that they're GMOs? Now, to me, it's always made sense that something like that happened because we've got a lot of anomalies in our genome, way more than the apes, not nearly as many problems with their genome as we've got. That means we've been screwed with. We know that the GMO food, one of the problems is it's got problems because they are not perfect at splicing yet. They're not perfect at what they do yet. So there are problems with, like abnormally long protein chains and so on and so forth. That's technical stuff. I don't want to get into it right now. But the things that, and of course, since they turned off a bunch of stuff, it probably affects other things. Our lifespan has definitely been shortened, definitely. And artificially. And now they're trying, apparently, to artificially shorten it again. Because we're living too long again. Every time we get to the point where we're living longer, we're having it easier, we're figuring things out, then something's got to come up and they got to knock us back again. And if you look, this ties into the mud flood stuff too. And the resets that have happened in the past. And this is where we got to be careful. And they have called them that. People who have studied this have called it resets of the past. This wouldn't be the first time. In fact, as far as we can determine, there have been a few. There have been a lot. There might have been a lot. There might have been many reset events. Because humans are not just thousands, not just millions, billions of years old. People like us. Not exactly us, but like us. Billions of years old. How do we know? Because they left implements. They left things carved in stone. You take a look at the cities. Some of these cities have layer after layer of cities. Some of this solid bedrock that some of these places are built on are other cities. There are cities below the cities. It's solid because it was bedrock is actually other cities underneath there. And everywhere there's honeycombs of underground tunnels under almost every, it's like all over the place. And every now and then things get screwed up and a sinkhole opens and then they find new stuff. Or something else happens and they find new stuff in the mud flood stuff. It's so obvious that there are civilizations that have been buried in mud. And anytime anybody finds proof that would be very telling, then the Smithsonian comes and cleanses it, right? And it's funny because in the Matrix, it was the Smiths that controlled this stuff, that was doing this stuff, that was the virus, represented the virus. I think the Smithsonian is one of the faces of the virus. Because like a worm, you know, if a worm gets in your computer, what it does, right? It'll take up a lot of memory while it's meanwhile eating all your stuff, eating all your files. That's what the Smithsonian is doing. Just like a freaking virus. I'm telling you. I couldn't make this shit up. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. But Cherie's right there with him. Sure, he has roaming eyes. Cherie's right there with him. Her eyes are roaming the same way. So, you know, and there are men that really are into that. I mean, I know that, and a lot of them are hippie types. Around here, it's actually not uncommon for them they want their women to be bi so that they can get in on the les action. I'm just going to put it plain. They want their little lesy action, so they pick a wife that's a bi, and they're very devoted so that they can get that porno sort of, you know, action so that they can, it's kind of funny. It's like basically, so they're not really cheating on their wife. They're both cheating together, each other with the same person. So it's not really cheating, is it? If you bring your wife along on the ride, quote unquote. I mean, that's you know, I've seen it. I've seen it here. I've been asked to be a part of it here too. It's not uncommon at all. So, yeah, enough with the gossip. There's a little bit of a delay, but hey, you know, it's like that's your idea of a party. It's not my idea of a party, but if it's your idea of a party, and here people misunderstand me. My husband, I guess he decided to go with it. My ex-husband. Yeah, instead of Swagger, people think the name is Swinger. And they're like, no, I'm not that exciting, okay? I'm less exciting than that. I'm not quite as exciting as that. I'm not a swinger. But my ex, I guess he turned out to be. So, you know, he embraced it toward the end there, I believe. I don't know much about what's going on with him. Anyway. Oh, Linda. Okay, we'll go on. We're leaving some people out of the discussion because they don't know anything about the geos much. Geo's another channel. Beyond the Veil, they deal with the Matrix and the reset too. So, yeah, that would be a whole nother discussion. So, anyway, did everybody else take off? Yeah. Yeah, Beyond the Veil is another show that deals with the Matrix, but they're the ayahuasca experience. They have a lot of stuff on the ayahuasca experience. They did an ayahuasca ceremony at the Great Pyramid that caused the reset, the current reset that we're in. It's a long story, but I believe them. I tend to believe them because, yes, we are in the middle of a reset after they did that, and right on time. Things are happening right on time, and they do appear to be also admins just like I am. I had my own mission too some years ago. Their mission was to push the reset button and help get rid of the virus. That was all of our mission, was to get rid of the virus. And I do remember when I first came in telling people that too. Of course, not very many people were into that. I didn't have any way to explain that it was a matrix. But I just said, well, this place needs revision. It's obviously got something wrong, and we're here to find out what that is. And that's exactly what I told people. From time to time, I tried to tell them. I soon learned that I couldn't tell that. I couldn't say that. That, well, I'm really from the future. This is actually my past. This is actually, because the Matrix is actually a replay of our past. What would see, or what most people would see as our past. In actuality, the past and the future, people don't understand it, and trying to explain that to you in this segment is just not going to work. I mean, trying to explain how time works, really? No, that ain't going to happen while standing on one foot. Hell no. It's way too crazy and hard to wrap your head around if you're used to being in a temporal plan. So I'm not going to go into that right now. However, a lot of this, I put it aside. I had to put it aside in order to live. But looking back on it, I knew more then than I know now. I think maybe even some of my problem is based on this. It might even be, I think that I have had a memory wipe on more than one occasion. Because every 10, 15 years, people's memories will come back the way that I hear it, even when you've undergone a wipe. Which is why some of these people remember, years after they come forward and talk about it. You begin to get your memory back, then you got to be wiped again, or your memories will come all the way back. I think I've been wiped more than once. Because I remember telling people about my experiences. I remember me doing that. But I don't remember what I told them. I don't remember the experiences all the way, and I don't remember what I told them about the experiences. But I know they happened because I remember myself telling people about them. It's very confusing, let me tell you. And then, of course, you can't tell most people about any of this. If you don't want to look loony. I mean, it's only been just recently that the rules have changed and people can't just put you in the loony bin because you're different. Now you kind of got to be a harm to yourself and others in order for them to just slip you in there. But that is one of the rules. If they can prove that you're self-harming in some way or harming to others, yeah. Which, I don't know. At some point they may try to stand on that. I don't want to say it. I'm not even going to say it. I'm just going to let that one trail off. Hi, Drake. So, yeah, I don't want to give any energy to the implications of that. But I will say that the people who do mud flood research have found that there are a heck of a lot of facilities that appear to be post-reset leftover buildings that were huge, that were designated as insane asylums. Now, we didn't have that many people in the world at these times. Why did they need such huge insane asylums? I mean, some of these are huge castles, you know, like with many wings and stuff. Why would you need to put that many people in an insane asylum? Why would you need all that space? And considering that a lot of these buildings look to be and a lot of the technology look to be inherited rather than invented or built. And that's another question that's been raised. Who really built some of these structures? If we built these beautiful structures like the Notre Dame Cathedral that has recently been cleansed, if we built them, why aren't we still building them like that? If the Egyptians built the pyramids, why aren't they still building them? You're saying primitive people did this and that and the other thing. They're not still doing it, although those buildings were obviously superior. Their structure was obviously superior. Their technology was actually superior that built those things. So why aren't they still being built? I have always asked this question. Why don't we build these things today? If we're the top of the line, we're more evolved, we got better technology now. Why are we not doing as well? Why have we regressed instead of progressed? Well, possibly because we keep getting reset. And that's what it looks like. That's what it's beginning to look like. Some of the researchers are really coming up. And this is probably another thing that somebody would want to hide, that would piss people off, is how many times have we been reset by these people? How many times have we been knocked in the head and set out on the street to remake the world? How many times have we been told to go forth and multiply? It's crazy. Yeah, the pyramids are older in Mexico than Egypt. We don't know how many times this has happened. We don't know how many times we've been screwed with. Although I remember seeing a video that really made me uneasy. It was about the history of the world. I don't even think you can get a hold of the video now. I wish I could find it. It was suggested to me by one of my friends, and when we watched it, we thought it was really cool up until the end. When the narrator kept foreshadowing, and it's going to end again, that we're going to end ourselves again, that it's all going to end again. He kept foreshadowing that, and I was wondering why he was trying to fearmonger. We didn't get to see the narrator till the end. But at the end of the video, showing us all of these things, all of these wonders, all of these things we'd wondered about were being explained for us. And it was like the villain telling the hero the plot, because he just can't help himself but gloat over his amazing plot that he has. And when it came to the end of it, it said, not just 5 times, not just 7 times. And he named a number, an exact number of how many times this place has been reset. That doesn't happen Unless, why would you give an exact number like that? It was creepy. And when I looked at him, he looked mean. He had the meanest, most hateful look in his eye when he said, and it's about to happen again. And that's when me and my friend looked at each other and said, holy crap, what the hell is really this about? What are we really watching here? Because everything's been very, very, it makes sense now. I mean, it really makes sense. Very elaborate. And then now, what? And then the video disappeared after a while. I haven't seen it since. She got rid of it because she was scared. She got rid of her link to it because she was terrified of it. She's like, what the did we just see, man? And I'm there like, I'm not sure, but nobody knows exactly how many times. I mean, it even just knows that it's even happened at all, let alone how old we are and exactly how many times. So somebody knows. Apparently. Were they telling the truth? Who knows? We're not allowed to know. And they were coming out and just like a comic book villain, telling us the whole story because you can't do anything about it, Batman. You can't do anything about it. Sorry, this is what I'm going to do to you. Isn't it great? This is what we're doing. We've done it millions of times. And we're going to do it again. It's fun. It's so fun to see you guys go down. Every single time I laugh. I hate you. That's what I was getting off of this guy. Creepy as hell. Really creepy. And I mean, everything else was so feasible, it was like, is that what was going on? Oh my God, it fits. Wow. We were like marveling at it, like even the cave, it even explained the cave paintings. It even explained, explained all this stuff. And we're like, wow, we were just sitting there with our eyes wide going, what if that's true? What if that's true? What if that's true? Wow. Wow. It would make so much sense. Wow. That last part was sure hard to take though. So if it has been, even if it has been more than once, that's hard to take. How many times have we gotten slammed? How many times have we got, you know what it reminds me of? We used to play dodgeball, and what they would do is they would let the upperclassmen, when we were in was it middle school? They would let the upperclassmen play dodgeball with us, and they would be bigger and stronger, and we didn't have a freaking chance. And they would let us just be picked off. They thought, I don't know, they just thought it was hilarious, I guess, to watch us all be picked off by these bigger, stronger upperclassmen and not be able to do very much about it. Very few of us survived that. We would all, how you get hit in dodgeball and you're out. It just watched them pick us all off, and they got some kind of joy out of that. That's what it reminds me of. So bullies, really, bullies. And what message do we keep getting? This is being done by bullies. These guys are bullies. So if we ever rise up fully empowered again, then the bullies got to go off the playing field, got to get off the playground. They might get their ass kicked back. The one thing the bully can't stand, you can't stand up to somebody that stands up to them. You know, it's like if you have an ability to stand up to the bully is going to run. Well, I just want to say that this weekend is the full flower pink supermoon. And we'll be celebrating that. And probably what I'll do for that event is I'll probably be giving readings. So you'll want to show up for that. It'll probably be on Sunday. That's my guess. Tomorrow night I may be on. It's a Friday. There's a very good chance I'll be on. I might do it tomorrow night. I might do it Sunday. Tomorrow might be a good time to have another get together of another kind, maybe some healings. I don't know. We'll see. And once again, this is all in game in that massively multiplayer virtual reality learning matrix game called Life on Earth, and has absolutely no bearing on the real reality, which is way outside of this place. So it's quite different. They're quite different things. So it really has no bearing on real life. Has no, yeah, any person's living or dead in real life. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it gives you some food for thought. You can type any of these subjects in and Google them and YouTube them. Most people just type it into YouTube these days. Don't even bother to Google. And you can find, but if you can't, I can point you in the direction. John Levy is a good one for Mud, Flood, and Resets. Mud Fossil University does a lot of work with the unearthing the ideas about the giants and several other things. I mean, he's got electron flood theory under his belt now too, and he's actually a very deep thinker, and doesn't really get much credit for what he thinks, which is sad because he comes up with some very interesting stuff that science kind of has to catch up with, actually. And sometimes science finally does catch up with some of this. Anyway, he has actually got mud fossils of giants that have human DNA, right? Gleaned from stones, supposedly stones, but they're actually petrified people. Huge petrified people. He's got the DNA proof. There are people with proof. We've got proof. We've got smoking guns all over the place of all of this. That we've been screwed, glued, and tattooed on this planet for a long time. And if you know what that term means, it's pretty bad. It's like a really bad thing. So we've been the underdog in all of this. If you're looking at, and here's another thing. And they keep trying to get us to believe that it's all our fault. That's human nature. No, it's not. It is not human nature. to want to kill our own species off and to spoil our. No, it's not really. It's really not. Think about it. Most people would rather be home watching TV than going off to war. Maybe they want to have a little boxing match, or maybe they want to have even a cage fight, but they don't want to go to war, really. They don't want to face that maybe the world could be annihilated. And it's just stupid. It's like counterintuitive in the greatest that would really be humans doing this. If you think about it, it makes no sense whatsoever. But they want us to hate ourselves as much as they hate us. They want us to hate ourselves, blame ourselves, and feel inferior, because that's what they feel we are. Meanwhile, the ones that want to help us want us to remember that we are divine as anybody. You are divine. Please believe it. And I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to leave you with that thought. You are divine. Truth is where you find it. I hope you find some here, or at least maybe something to get you on your way to it. This is Ocean Making Waves. Now go out and make some of your own. And I love you. We'll get back together at some point this weekend and celebrate still being here in spite of it all. Yeah. With the super full pink flower moon. Okay. See you at other chats. Have a good night and dream well.